here on NewsX World. We have the privilege of staying with Ambassador Dayal as we shift attention now away from Europe, as China and India are stepping up diplomatic engagements amid positive momentum in bilateral ties. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is reportedly set to visit Delhi on August the 18th to meet India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. The Chinese side said details of the visit will be released in due course. In addition, India and China are expected to resume direct flights as soon as next month. Chinese officials say resuming flights will facilitate cross-border travel, business and people-to-people exchanges. Both sides have been in close communication to promote the early restoration of air connectivity. China emphasised that it is seeking to strengthen political trust, expand cooperation and properly handle differences with India. Both countries, as major developing nations, plan to work together on multilateral platforms, including the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, to promote stable and sustainable relations while supporting global developmental objectives. Well, thank you so much for staying with us, Ambassador Dayal. There is a lot to unpack here. Could you just firstly provide us some context on why this shift in relations, a seeming easing of tensions, is so significant between two of the world's greatest economic powers?
Well, let me first set the background. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is scheduled to visit India on August 18th. And the visit is primarily to hold talks with India's National Security Advisor, Mr. Ajit Doval, under the Special Representatives Mechanism on the border issue. Now, this meeting takes place against the backdrop of recent efforts by both sides to improve bilateral relations, which were significantly impacted by the deadly border clashes in 2020. And this visit also comes ahead of a possible trip by India's Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, to China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit later in August. So the main focus will be on the border situation and measures to control and maintain stability along the line of actual control. Now, discussions are also expected to cover broader aspects of the India-China relationship and explore avenues for improved cooperation. Now, as you hinted, the visit signifies a positive step towards de-escalation of border tensions and a potential normalization of relations between the two countries. I think it could pave the way for a more constructive engagement in areas like trade and economic cooperation. Now, let me also mention that the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, will go to Moscow immediately after Mr. Wang Yi's visit. He will be meeting the Russian Foreign Minister, Mr. Sergei Lavrov, on August 21. So India is trying to mend its fences with China, mend relations with China, improve them, and strengthen ties with Russia. And certainly all this is happening in the background of the Trump tariffs, which have been targeted to hit India. So it's no surprise that India is strengthening relations with other important global players in this sort of a setting.
Yes, absolutely. And Ambassador Dayal, I want to build on that point because, of course, Russian oil is purchased heavily by China and also purchased, of course, by India. And the US tariff action has not just potentially alienated the US, but it could be bringing nations together. Do you see that the US action is potentially building these bridges between China and India? And how pivotal could those relationships be for both countries' economy moving forward in the face of heightened tariffs and instability from the US tariff war?
Well, you know, the Trump tariffs have the potential to deal a very deadly blow to the bilateral relationship between India and the United States. This relationship had been steadily built over decades, but as the saying goes, you can build something which may take years, but then destroy it in a flash. And this is what the Trump tariffs seem to be doing. And naturally, India has to be realistic. It has to see what other alignments it needs, what economic strengthening of relations is required with different countries. But at the same time, there is no doubt that other countries which are global players are also realizing that President Trump is breathing a lot of uncertainty into the international relations scenario. In fact, the saying is that the only thing certain about President Trump is that he's uncertain. And in the background of this sort of uncertainty, it is natural for India to try and forge stronger relations with other important global players like Russia and China.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, Ambassador Dayal, there is a dynamic between China and Pakistan. Of course, Chinese military assets used by Pakistan during the period of Operation Sindoor after the devastating Pahalgam terror attack. Do you think that these improving, if they do improve, these improving India-China relations could have any impact on the India-Pakistan tensions?
Well, China has always been a pro-Pakistan player. China has assisted Pakistan in a variety of ways, including, of course, by giving a lot of military equipment. And this has certainly impacted in a very negative way India's own relations with China. But now we also witness a strengthening of relations between the United States and China. And if Pakistan wants to put one foot on the American stool and another foot on the Chinese stool, there may be a danger of it falling between the two stools. And it is going to be no surprise if the closeness between the United States and Pakistan impacts its relationship with China. And that may contribute also towards the building of a fresh relationship between India and China. Let me state that the global scenario is changing. It's in a state of evolution. There are new factors which are emerging, and all these will shape India's bilateral relations with other countries.
Absolutely. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, it was a pleasure to have you on the programme and get your insights on all of those developments. We will, of course, continue to monitor those India-China relations and look towards a potential meeting between Wang Yi and Ajit Doval. But let's now move on and head to the Middle East, where Israeli Prime Minister